as someone who doesn't know anything, I would have thought that the place you go to is where you get the greatest returns. And the place you get the greatest returns are the underserved populations, if you will. And you pointed to a great example. This idea of antibiotics is a massive population that we know we need more help in, but the reimbursement just isn't there. Let me ask you this question: from a government perspective, from a VC perspective, a pharma perspective, what can the government do to make this process easier, to make investment into underserved needs better? So make it easier for companies to invest into, say, antibiotics.
Again, I'm not a regulatory expert, but if CMS or whomever would establish just like we did with COVID vaccines, saying we're going to go ahead and set a baseline demand in the United States and say we will either establish a reimbursement level that's sufficient, or said that they will in itself guarantee a certain distribution of a new class of drugs. Is that something that's possible? So I think there's probably examples, or more recent examples with vaccines that I can show, because vaccines had some of the similar issues, because most vaccines, I believe, took probably upwards of a decade of clinical development, just because it wasn't a therapeutic, it was a vaccine that would prevent something, and so the threshold was much higher before introducing it into a naive population. There's probably examples using COVID to come up with these other areas. I mean, rare disease has some of the same similar issues, and how do you kind of create demand when you only have 8,000 people with ALS every year, or you only have a few tens of thousands of people with Parkinson's every year? It's difficult to justify making those investments in a therapy that is just as complex, or if not more complex, than well-established diseases. And so there has to be a better way, beyond just greater market exclusivity. I mean, other alternative is, extend the patent life for some of these diseases, which again, there are some exceptions in terms of how patents can be extended for some of these conditions, but maybe we need to look at, extending them further so that there's a higher return on investment during those periods based upon the risk of development.